If you're in your 50s and unsure whether to make Roth or pre-tax contributions for retirement, this video is for you. It's going to help you determine the options that may work best for you and avoid a mistake that might potentially cost you hundreds or even thousands of dollars. A lot of people in your age group are unsure if they're choosing the right account, although everyone in their 50s is often saving regularly and investing wisely. But they could be making this one mistake, and it's like packing for a dream vacation, but bringing the wrong currency. Eventually, you can exchange for the right currency, but it'll take time and incur additional costs. Susie Orman, personal finance expert and TV host, says, "I love the Roth IRA. Tax-free income in retirement is truly a great deal." While Ed Slott, CPA and IRA expert, says there's no reason to contribute to a traditional 401k or IRA because you're just building up a future tax bill. Get the money out. So what's the truth? Heard this advice before. Always go with pre-tax accounts. They save you money on taxes today. And that's a common line from CPAs and other financial professionals, but here's the problem. That advice only looks at your tax bill right now. And retirement planning isn't just about today, it's about the next 30 plus years. So let's break this down. When I say pre-tax accounts, I mean accounts like traditional 401ks or IRAs that give you a tax break today, but every dollar you withdraw later on in retirement, well, that's taxed as ordinary income. Even if you don't need the money, required minimum distributions or RMDs kick in and they force you to take withdrawals, potentially pushing you into a higher tax bracket, increasing your taxes not just on your IRA withdrawals, but also on other income sources like Social Security, Medicare, and more. On the other hand, we have Roth accounts like a Roth IRA or your Roth 401k, which work the opposite way. You pay taxes on the dollars you contribute now, but then it grows completely tax-free and you pay nothing on the withdrawals later on in retirement. Now, here's where it gets real. We don't know what tax rates will be in 10, 20, or even 30 years, but if they go up, and your only savings are pre-tax, you could owe way more than you might expect. That's why having a mix of both pre-tax and Roth accounts can be so powerful, but more on that later on in the video. That can be so powerful because in retirement, you can decide which bucket you're gonna pull from, and that way you can pay less in taxes, keep more of your money, and avoid tax surprises. So no, pre-tax isn't always better. It's always better to have more flexibility and hence more freedom. And that's really the whole point of retirement planning, isn't it? At this point, we're halfway there. We know the problem. Now we need to find a better solution. So the solution? Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't build a roof before pouring the foundation, right? Retirement planning works the same way. You start with a strong foundation and then you build up. So let's start with a strong foundation. Before you worry about what type of retirement accounts to choose, make sure you have your bases covered. And that means two things: an emergency fund and paying off high interest rate debt. The first is to build an emergency fund. Ideally 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in cash or a high yield savings account so that you're not forced to dip into your retirement savings if times get difficult. And if you've got high interest rate debt, like credit cards, make sure you pay those off. No investment will outrun a 20% interest rate on your credit card. That's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. It just isn't gonna work. Now you have a solid foundation. Here's where it gets fun. If your employer offers a 401k or 403b or any type of account like that match, always take it. Think about it. If you earn $100,000 and they match 5%, that's $5,000 added to your retirement automatically. And that's just for showing up. Ignoring this is like leaving free money on the table. But now comes the biggest question. Which one's better for you? Is it Roth or is it pre-tax accounts? Well, that depends on where you are today and where you think you might be tomorrow. What I mean by that is if you're in a low tax bracket today, Roth might be the smartest move for you. Pay the small tax on now and enjoy the tax-free income later on. But if your income is really high right now and you expect to be in a lower tax bracket later on, pre-tax might make sense for you. You defer taxes when they're higher and then you pay them on your withdrawals when taxes are lower. And what if you're somewhere in the middle? Well, it's okay to use a mix of both accounts. Having a mix of Roth and pre-tax accounts gives you flexibility, like I alluded to earlier. It's the same flexibility that you crave in retirement. Now that you have an idea of the account that you should choose, I'm going to tell you how to structure and stack your savings in the right order. But before I do that, if you're someone who is really busy or someone who feels like all this is just a little too overwhelming, I'm here to tell you that it's okay. It's not you. These things are sometimes difficult and they are overwhelming. And if that sounds like you, I built something that might be really valuable. If you want clarity on your retirement, I offer a complimentary retirement readiness review. It's actually a custom video that I will email directly to you, breaking down your retirement outlook, spotting potential blind spots, and answering the questions that matter the most in retirement. So if you're someone who thinks that you need reassurance in your retirement plan, I'll put the link in the description for you. And to ensure that these are the highest quality for you, I can only do about 12 a month. Now let's move on to the order of your savings. First, Like we discussed, you want to start with your employer match. That's a no-brainer. Next, if you qualify, you might consider contributing to a Roth IRA. Then if you're eligible, an HSA or health savings account is one of the most tax-efficient tools that you can use. They have triple tax benefits, meaning your contributions are tax deductible, your growth is tax deferred, and your withdrawals are tax free if they're used for qualifying medical expenses. Now, after that, you can continue with your Roth or traditional 401k, depending on your tax strategy. And finally, and especially if you're retiring early, you want to build a early retirement bridge, which can be used to fund your lifestyle without dipping into your retirement accounts before age 59.5. You can use a taxable brokerage account or your high yield checking or savings account to make sure that you can access those dollars without penalty. And for those of you that are looking to go even further, there are more advanced strategies. For instance, let's say your income is too high to make a regular Roth IRA contribution. A backdoor Roth conversion strategy might be an option for you. Or if you're temporarily earning less than you normally do, whether due to a job hiatus or retirement, regular Roth conversions could be a secret weapon for you as well. Now, by having both Roth and pre-tax buckets, you build what's called tax diversification, giving you control over your taxes in retirement, not just today. Because retirement planning isn't just about savings, it's about strategically building something that works for you in the long haul. And the better that you stack your accounts today, the more control, confidence, and peace of mind you'll have tomorrow. Now, if you've watched the video up until this point, you know the problem and we know the solution. But if you don't know the common mistakes that many make, then everything you've learned up until now might be for naught. So just look out for these 4 commonly made mistakes. Now, the first one is misjudging future tax rates. You might be thinking, I'll be in a lower tax bracket when I retire, so I should just go all in on pre-tax savings today. But here's the reality. That's not always how it works. And this assumption can sometimes backfire. Even if your income drops in retirement, you have to consider your investment income, your Social Security, and even your required minimum distributions from your traditional 401k or IRAs, which can force you to withdraw more than you need, potentially pushing you in a higher tax bracket than you might have anticipated. That's why relying on only pre-tax accounts can be a little risky. The smarter play? Build in tax flexibility by using both Roth and pre-tax accounts. I think I'm beating a dead horse here. That way, you get control over how much tax you pay and when you pay it. Now, a second mistake to avoid is overlooking liquidity needs before age 59.5. I alluded to this earlier, but here's another pitfall that catches a lot of people off guard. If you save aggressively into retirement accounts, which is great, but then you realize that you can't touch any of that money without penalty until age 59.5. And that's a long way to wait if you're planning to retire at age 55 or even earlier. Or if life throws you a curveball and you need to access those funds earlier. Sure, there are exceptions to being able to access that money, but they are limited and quite complicated. And if you withdraw early without meeting those rules, you'll pay income tax plus a 10% penalty. That's why it's critical to have a bridge strategy like I mentioned. Something like a taxable brokerage account or even high yield savings account for your reserves. These give you access to your money without restrictions and without triggering taxes or penalties. And the third mistake to avoid is ignoring Roth IRA income limits or contribution rules. This is the third common mistake because a lot of people make Roth IRA contributions that are over the income limits. If you make too much, which is a modified adjusted gross income of $161,000 for single filers and $240,000 for married filing joint in 2025, you can't contribute directly to a Roth IRA. A lot of people don't realize this and they make contributions anyways, which can lead to penalties, recharacterizations, and just messy tax corrections. But there is a workaround that we mentioned before, and that's the backdoor Roth conversion. It lets high earners contribute to a traditional IRA and then convert to a Roth IRA, legally and effectively. But before doing the backdoor Roth conversion, make sure you don't have any money in pre-tax accounts like a traditional IRA, because it can mess things up. The IRS has a rule called the pro rata rule, which means they look at all your IRA accounts and your SEP and your simple accounts, if you have those, together when you do a conversion and figure out how much of it is going to be taxable. So even if you're just trying to move the after-tax money, you'll still owe taxes on part of it. But don't worry if you have a 401k account, whether at an old employer or a current employer, those aren't calculated into the pro rata rule. Like I said, this type of more complex retirement planning can become confusing quite quickly. And that's where, at least in my opinion, you'll see a lot more value working with a qualified financial advisor. And finally, the fourth mistake to avoid is not using HSA or health savings accounts to their fullest potential. Most people treat HSAs like a regular checking account for their medical bills. Swipe, pay, done. But that's a missed opportunity. Like we said, HSAs are the only account that give you triple tax benefits: tax deduction, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals from qualified medical expenses. So instead of spending out of your HSA now, invest in it, let it grow, and save your receipts for later, because you can actually reimburse yourself for old receipts. By now, you probably know everything there is to know about the pre-tax versus Roth decision. But let's quickly summarize. Before investing, secure your foundation, pay off high interest rate debt, and build an emergency fund. Then stack your savings smartly. First is to claim your employer match. Second is to contribute to a Roth IRA if you're eligible. Third is to use an HSA for its triple tax benefits if you're eligible. Fourth is to then move on to max out your 401k, whether Roth or pre-tax based on your tax situation. And the fifth is then to build a taxable brokerage account for early retirement or just for general flexibility. Avoid common mistakes like misjudging future tax brackets, ignoring your liquidity needs, exceeding Roth income limits, or underusing HSAs. Strategic planning now gives you more control and a peace of mind in retirement. Freedom in retirement isn't bought with luck. It's built with clarity, intention, and a plan that bends with life, not breaks under it. Every smart move that you make today is a gift to your future self. So let's make sure the next chapter of your life is one that you've always imagined and not one that you've forced into. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd encourage you to subscribe because we have videos coming out weekly and I think you might find a lot of value in them.